This season of Truly Independent is supported by the Help Them See Foundation. Help Them See is a nonprofit dedicated to supporting feature films that inspire faith, hope, and connection. By partnering with filmmakers, the Help Them See Foundation brings meaningful stories to life and shares them with audiences worldwide, making a lasting cultural impact through the power of cinema. Learn more and discover how you can be part of the movement by visiting helpthemseefoundation.org. Welcome to Season 3 of Truly Independent. I'm Garrett Batty alongside my co host Daren Smith. Each week, we'll go in depth with guests, industry experts, and we'll even share our own experiences, all with the goal of demystifying the independent film process. This season, it's all about the script, from the first spark of an idea to a polished final draft, breaking it down for scheduling, budgeting, and ultimately shooting. We'll walk through every step it takes to get from page to production. Welcome to Truly Independent. Hello and welcome to another episode of Truly Independent. I'm the co-host, Garrett Batty, and with me, as always, is the co-host, Daren Smith. Daren, how are you?
So good and a little tired. I've recently returned from Portugal, where I was on our last episode. I wish I could say that I'm not traveling anymore this year, but I have like 2 more trips, I think, by the end of the year, and another in January already on my calendar. So can't
Yeah,
complain. I love
don't
it.
stop now. Don't stop
Don't
now.
stop now.
You've almost circumnavigated the globe.
I know. We're getting there. I got to hit Asia and Africa, and then we'll be good. Um,
We'll check Africa off the list. We've already done that this year.
There you go. But yeah, it was an awesome trip. We don't need to talk to you. It was a family trip. It was just my wife and I and her sister and my brother-in-law. So it was a nice trip. It's good to be home, good to be back with our boys and back to the grind of, okay, I can actually work full time now again, like I
Yeah,
haven't been able to do the last week and a half.
well, it's I'm sure it's going to pick up for you because you've got a movie that you're producing,
That is
and it's been
true. Yeah.
yeah, it's been fun to talk about that with you.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
the announcement came through this podcast first, and then I did my own press release. So I didn't hire a company or anything like that. Or I did reach out to a handful of outlets to see if they were interested in the story, and none responded at all. And so we did our own press release, put it on LinkedIn and my email list on Wednesday last week, and then I guess 2 weeks ago, and then left the country
yeah.
as one does when they drop a press release.
Well, I can tell you this: we did a read through while you were gone for a
Yeah.
project, and some of the people that were there, some of the attendees, had been following your project, and they were very complimentary of it and very excited, and spoke very highly of the way that you've been releasing it, even in these very early stages. So I thought that that was cool. You're definitely making some little waves.
It's good to hear. Yeah, it's been fun to hear people talking about, seeing a movie a year out is very exciting for an audience, especially those that care about the craft and care about the process. It's like, okay, cool. We'll just keep going. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to live up to what we preach on this show. So there's that as well.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, I mean, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today with you know, starting the awareness campaign and even kind of diversifying, taking the pressure off of the movie being the sole piece of content that we're releasing in order to kind of recoup our costs. And we're going to talk about maybe how to create multiple revenue streams or diversify a little bit from just one independent film.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an important episode for people to listen to because we think about things in such a limited way in indie film. And I'm really excited to kind of break people's brains a little bit on this topic because I'm passionate about it. I have strong feelings about it. So we're gonna dive in.
Good, good. And before we do, I mentioned we did a read through. I just want to
Yeah,
give a
how'd it go?
follow up and a shout up on that. Yes, Kirby Hayborn, with whom I partners in the Help Them See Foundation, sponsored a read through for a project that went very well. We did something a little different. We did not read the entire script.
Hmm.
Um, we wanted to give audiences a feel for what the movie is, just the tone, because it's a little bit of a unique tone in the faith-based space. We're doing a heist comedy,
Hmm.
uh, and so we selected about 5 scenes and had 3 other actors there reading, uh, and then stole your advice, Daren. We implemented your advice and had, behind us a big screen, and I had some backgrounds that I'd created of the scenes. So as we're reading the
Nice.
scenes, the script was scrolling. I did a little teleprompter on the back screen over these backgrounds. So it made for a visual experience.
That's cool.
I had music cues ready to go, but we had a little speaker issue.
Mhm.
So the music cues did not play for the audience. But I think all in all, it went very well. We had about 20 to 25 people in attendance, and they were invite only. And I've had several follow up meetings as a result of it.
Yeah.
So I'm very encouraged by what's happening with that project and just with that model.
That is awesome to hear. We talked about it, so I can't take credit for it. And honestly, Ross is the one who's been driving these um, preview events, these script previews over the last 2 months. But they have quickly become two things. One, almost a mandatory, like we have to do this. The way that the frequency of feedback is insane. Like how quickly you get notes after each one of these, and doing multiple, I think, is something that filmmakers don't often do. But in addition, like you said, you're getting connected to a lot of people. And so you can use them strategically to bring investors, to bring partners, to bring, at the last one that we did, we had a cinematographer there, we had some potential marketing people there, we had some investors there. So yeah, you can fill the room. And I like that we're now thinking of them more as an experience for people to start getting behind the movie and getting excited about the movie than just, oh, let's do a read through because that, we need to do one. And that is what we typically do. And to just read it with a bunch of actors, no audience, and then get some feedback in the room and then move on. You can do 5 or 10 of them before you go and make the movie, and you get a lot of feedback that way.
Yeah, I'm always surprised, well, a little bit surprised, and very very grateful that people come out to these. Like, these are invite only events,
Mm-hmm.
and we have yet to do one that's public. From what I've seen of you and Ross doing, you're getting quite a turnout. And I think that there was a thought going through my mind of like, how do we get people to come to this thing? And they did, and I'm grateful that they did. And so the responsibility was, how can we make this worth their time?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people went away feeling that they had been entertained, that they had been given a little peek into what we were doing, and that they felt a part of this team now. Like, we are doing this movie, and we would love your help if you'd like us to, however you'd like to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
Here's our contact info, and it was a neat way to see these ripples start.
Yeah. I would start every one of the preview events that I was part of and co-hosting with Ross, and I would literally say, these are, I call these spark events, and Ross has been carrying a spark, which is
Yeah,
what they used to do to like make sure that they could quickly start a fire back in the day. Like someone would just like literally carry a little tin box with a fire going, and they'd keep feeding it throughout the day. Then when they landed at their next site, they'd use that spark to start a fire.
yeah,
And, I would literally use that metaphor in the room with everybody there before it started, saying, these are spark events. So if you catch the spark, if you feel like you've got something to add to it and you want to help fuel this fire, then that's what these are for. That's why we invited you. If at the last one, I literally called out investors and said, look, if you're an investor and you want to put your money into meaningful media, come talk to me afterwards. If you're a filmmaker and you have something that you want to bring to the table, let us know, because we knew maybe 40% of the people in the room, and the rest were plus ones or people that said, can I send this to my friend or my cousin? They should go. And it was a cool room of about 110 people at this last one, which to me was a little insane. Like, how do you get 110 people to come to a script preview? Well, you do 7 of them before that, so people have FOMO, and then they really, really want to go to the last one that's going to ever probably happen. So,
yeah,
specifically calling out that these are enrollment events or spark events, and we're inviting you to not just come and participate, but to engage and enroll and be part of the process afterwards.
yeah. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Darren, it's a good segue into our topic and what we kind of
Mhm.
wanted to talk about today, and that's that just this mindset, starting with this mindset of the film that we're making is not. just one product,
Yeah.
right? And I think as independent filmmakers, often we get into that mindset of, okay, I'm going to make a movie, I'm going to make a movie, and I've made a movie, and now here's the movie, and then that either goes or dies on the vine, and now we got to start over and make another movie. Uh,
Yeah.
but we want to talk about 5 different ways that you can change that mindset, and what some of those changes are.
Yeah. And this idea or this topic was sparked a few episodes ago. We had the couple on talking about their movie, and they at one point they said, "What is the product? Is the movie the product?" And I was like, "Ooh, I have thoughts, but not for this episode."
Yeah, Andrew and Jay Huff were
Yeah.
awesome. You can go
They
back
were
and listen to that
great.
episode. We talked about their movie, but it came from a streaming, show, and yeah, great ideas.
Yeah. So the idea, I think, I know you've got a couple of ideas to throw in here, so we're going to jam on this topic for a few minutes. But the first principle that I try to live by is that if we limit the product to just the movie, or maybe it's the other way around. If we limit the movie to just being one product, then we're really limiting our potential for profit. And my friend Carl Richards has this line. He says that profit equals permission. And I love that line because the more profit you make, the more permission you have to do your next project, to greenlight future things, to go bigger, to work with bigger people. And we'll talk about partnering with people later on. But the if you're thinking about being profitable, then all of a sudden everything kind of changes and you go, okay, well, how do we get profitable? And it's really hard to be profitable with a single product. And so the first principle I try to live by is that you got to be thinking about product ecosystems, not just product single SKU. Like, here is the movie, and that is
Yep.
all that is for sale.
Yeah, exactly. Your mindset is, I made a movie, and your mindset should be, I made an IP ecosystem, right? The movie is the storefront for everything else that you're offering. And whether that's a copy of the movie or a license to the movie, that's one thing. Whether that's services for your next project, or you know even merch for the movie, like all of these things can be spin-offs, or different products, multiple product lines within this storefront that is your movie.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a lesson I think we can take from the studio ecosystem, right? It always, I shouldn't say always. I used to be in the mindset of, yeah, if a movie tanked in the box office, it was a failure and it lost the studio $100 million or whatever. But studios have a dozen or more revenue streams for every single movie that they make, right? And so we don't have like public reporting like we do with ComScore or Box Office Mojo and stuff to see how much money a movie made on streaming or in rentals or in when it goes and is shown on an airplane or in foreign sales, like any of those things. It's really hard to track, and we don't know how much merch it made, how much they made on merchandising or brand deals or sponsorships. We don't know what their tax credit return was. We don't know a lot of things. And so, but thinking like a studio is a really smart thing you can do as an indie filmmaker when it comes to the product ecosystem. And so, what does that mean? It means, well, you're going to have
Uh-oh.
multiple products. It's an ecosystem, and they are at different price points. So that's a big idea. We constantly really think about the movie as one or two things. Initially, you have a really high um, like value level or high price point, which is the investment in the movie. So that is actually an offer. That's part of your product ecosystem. You're saying you can give us money in exchange for equity in the movie and get returns for the life of the film. Okay, that's an offer. So good. We do a good job there. But then we go straight to, okay, the product we're making is a $10 movie ticket or a $4 rental or a 10-cent streaming thing. Like, that's where our product ecosystem lives. And it's really the movie just delivered three different ways at three different price points. So it's not three different products, it's one at very low price points. So one of the earliest things I started thinking of was like, okay, well, what would it take to charge $100 for a movie? Like, what would it take? Not, are you willing to buy it? Because I posted that on LinkedIn and everyone was like, I would never spend $100 for a movie. I was like, I know you wouldn't. What would it take? What would it have to look like? And so we talked about this on a previous episode, but like the idea of a pre-theatrical release where you're doing events that are $100 to $250 a ticket. They're VIP, they're one night only. It's exclusive. You can get a VIP version, which gets you some food and some pictures with the cast or the director or whatever. And there you go. And now you could have $1,000 sponsor or a $10,000 title sponsor. And now you've got the $1 million movie offer, the $10,000 sponsor offer, the $1,000 mini sponsor offer, the $100 movie ticket or event ticket, and the $10 $1.10 thing. So you've expanded your product ecosystem, but at the top, the investment in the movie is not the movie. They're not spending $1 million to watch the movie that they could watch later for $10. It's a different product, a different offer. Same thing with sponsors, same thing with tickets for an event, et cetera, et cetera. So all of a sudden, that's just a mini version of like expanding the product ecosystem from just the movie to other offers.
Yeah, I think it's some. I, I think exactly. I think you've got your traditional film revenue streams, right? Your theatrical, your TVOD, your SVOD. You know, TVOD is going to be Amazon and Apple and Google, and usually that peak revenue is in that first 60 to 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got your SVOD, which is Angel Studios and PureFlix and Great American. Like all of that comes after that.
Yeah.
Um, and then your AVOD and Fast. And now you're getting into those 10-cent, you know, price points for your movie. But I think the point is each one of those is a product. So your movie is the product, but your theatrical license is a spin-off or a part of the storefront of your movie.
Mm-hmm.
So to just sell, and I think that Jay and Andrew were talking about this a little bit, or this is what we were hinting at during their episode, to go to a distributor and say, here's my movie, take it and run with it, is perhaps leaving money on the table. But to go to a distributor and say, here's my license, here's the TVOD rights for this product. Now you have a whole bunch of other things that you can do. And if a distributor wants all rights, they better be willing to pay for it, which should be the value that is in your movie, because they're gonna get that, or they're gonna leave that on the table. But um, the, the realization needs to be made that there are multiple revenue streams within that one movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you nailed it too in thinking of it as it's not just the movie, it's a storefront, and you can bring people in and say, look, do you want to license this? Do you want to? One of the reasons that I love Ross's project, Brotherhood, is it's a musical. And so
Yeah,
you've got
very
an
beautiful.
album, you've got sheet music, you've got, there's merch that we're already thinking about, but we're also talking about a Broadway version, like a stage musical that we're developing at the same time as the movie, which is a little insane. We haven't talked too much about it, but to me, that's another version of potential 8 figures of revenue if it does well on Broadway that you don't get with a typical indie drama that's not a musical, right? And
Yeah,
so some people, I should mention this because I've had 2 people in the last year that have reached out to me about musicals and pitched me one, and it was just like, okay, cool. Like I actually to them said, I don't know if musicals like this are the right way to go. I think the music you're making it even harder on yourself because not only does the movie have to be good, but the music has to be good. And if
yeah,
either now you've got 2 ways that people can ding your movie. And if the music's good but the singing's not good, then that's bad as well. Like it's tough. And it's a very specific thing. I'm not speaking from any sort of experience here because I'm not a Broadway or theatrical or theater producer. But I love Broadways and I've seen lots of them and I'm a fan. And the idea is, if it's not something that people would pay $150 to go see on Broadway, then like it has to be that level. I think it's even harder than movies because you only have so many Broadway shows open a year, whereas you'll have maybe 10 times as many movies open a year. So I think it's harder to do that. But if you can crack it, there's a whole other revenue stream for you. So the idea of, okay, how does this one bit of IP become 10 or 12 different things, 10, 12 different revenue streams? And if you can figure out how to make each one of those revenue streams $1 to $10 million worth of revenue, well, you did pretty well and you got a lot of profit and you can go make a lot more movies. So that's what we're aiming for.
One of the values I think that is underexplored in an indie film is something we've talked about, and that's your ability to build an audience, to build an email list, and especially like this early on stages, Darren, where you're making you're making your announcements of the movies coming out. Often there is a lot of attention and curiosity given to that type of announcement, right? So there's a response. So as independent filmmakers, I think we can set ourselves up for success if we try to figure out how to make sure that that curiosity converts into retaining an audience, right? So if I want to watch the trailer, what am I willing to give you so that I can watch your trailer? Well, I'm going to give you my email address,
Yeah.
right? And I'm going to sign up and say, yeah, you can send me weekly updates on the movie. I think when we just put the trailer on YouTube or put a clip out there, we do ourselves a disservice saying that's a product that we're giving away for free, and it might not get as many views if somebody has to put their email in, but those are going to be just quality emails, and it's an exchange for something. You're not working for free.
Yeah. That was one of the most brilliant things I saw you and the marketing team do for Faith of Angels, which was 2 weeks or a week before the trailer dropped on YouTube with the distributor. You had it available to people to watch for people to watch if they put in their email and shared it. So you had a little one single page website that said, put in your email, watch the trailer early. And I think you collected like 1,500 or 2,000 emails in that
Yeah.
week. And those are the people who are the most engaged. And then all of a sudden, you don't need 10 million people to know that your movie exists in order to go and have a successful theatrical outcome. You need probably somewhere between 50 and 100,000 that are on an email list, because that represents an audience that's probably 20 times bigger who haven't given you the email list or the email
Uh-huh.
address. But you can reach them because you can talk directly to the email audience, and they can tell their friends and invite their family and go see it time and time again. So identifying those kind of true fans early on by saying, hey, here's an opportunity to get something exclusive and early in exchange for an email address, that's a pretty good trade-off. So yeah, I love that a lot. The other thing that we wanted to talk about is the idea of what does it take like to make the product, and it's not just the production. And I think we focus too much on that as filmmakers, as indie filmmakers. We go, I'm a cinematographer, I'm a director, I'm a producer, I'm a writer, and so I'm responsible for this thing. But in indie film, I think I've said this before, until you hire a producer, you are the producer. And so if you wrote the script and you want to direct it, guess what? You're also the producer. And so it's your responsibility to go raise the money. It's your responsible to go attach people. It's your responsible to figure out all the things until you've hired someone or partnered with someone that can say, no, I'll take care of that part. So let's take Brotherhood again, for example, because it's the whole point of this show is to reveal like what we're doing in real time.
Yeah.
But like right now we're casting, and we have our 4 leads that we're in various stages of reaching out to. 2 of them have offers as of last week, so we're negotiating those, and the other 2 we're waiting to do like a workshop session with Ross and them out in New York, probably a week after this week, so next week, first week of December. So did we hire a casting director? No. We tried, and they were slow, and Ross is not slow. Slow is not in his vocabulary.
It's like,
So
let's just do it.
literally gave them a week, contacted one that's very connected in New York, because we're trying to cast Broadway talent for the movie and then put them on Broadway when the show opens as well. But he reached out and said, here's the movie, here's the script, here's the project, here's some video of it. And the guy came back and was like, oh, this is really cool. I'm wrapping up a show this week. I'll get back to you next week. Ross followed up next week. Guy didn't get back to him. He said, well, I can't wait for you, so I'm just going to reach out to them. So he literally found, he was messaging people in their comments on Instagram saying, check your DMs. I have a project for you. You're
Uh-huh.
like, and you did this with John Finley and with Cameron, you reached out
Yeah.
directly too. Like,
Yeah.
you didn't do a casting call for those lead roles, right?
Right.
And so you're in the same boat as Ross on this. Like, you guys follow the same strategy as far as like, I'm going to take the responsibility to go and find my key people, my key collaborators I want to work with. So every movie needs three things. You need the production. Yes, you need to like make the thing, and that's what we all focus on. But you also need what comes before that or in tandem with that and what comes after that. So you need partnerships, you need brand partnerships. We'll use that term brand because let's expand it to more than just a movie. Any product needs a brand name, right? You can't just come out the gate and go, here's a thing without a brand name on it. So what do companies do when they're about to release a new product or do a Super Bowl ad? They hire an A-list celebrity, or they hire some really well-known production company or whatever, and they attach that other brand to the production that they're doing or the product that they've created, and it increases the value. So we do that in film by attaching actors and by attaching production companies or a name director or acquiring a script from a name writer or a really hot topic. And then that's our brand piece. So you have production, brand, and then the last one you have distribution. And that's also our responsibility to figure that out until we have a distributor who wants to handle that or take that responsibility. So if you don't have all three of those pieces, you really don't have a product yet. You have a movie that you've made, but it's not a product yet because there's no brand and there's no distribution. Or if you have a brand but no product and no distribution, okay, we've seen that on Instagram and YouTube and stuff where people have said, "Oh, I'm going to take this brand and I'm going to go try and make a movie out of it," and it doesn't do well. Or I'm going to try and sell products to this audience, but they don't have that sort of relationship with the brand, so it doesn't go well. So you need all three pieces, and you need them as strong as they possibly can be on all three fronts.
Sure. And I think it's a if those three pieces form this triangle, it's a give and take, right? Sometimes your actor may not be as well known, but your concept or your idea or your topic is a hot topic, and that in and of itself has an audience. Or same thing, you mentioned a name brand director or writer that may not have to rely as heavily upon a name brand actor, um, when resources are limited. But if you have all three, it just makes your job so much easier as far as getting the film out there.
Yeah. I've thought about it a lot over the last year as I've been raising money. It's like, oh, part of what I'm doing, because this is a product, right? Investing in Producer Fund One is an offer. It's a product. So is my brand strong enough? Because I think the production part of it, the product side, is strong. I stress tested that. It's going well. People see the model, they see the product or the structure of a film fund and go, "This is really cool. I want to be a part of this." But my brand isn't yet strong enough. So it was initially like, I need to find like a lead investor that I could take their name and say, so and so, or whatever company is, the lead investor on Producer Fund One, and then use that leverage to go get more. So I'm still, part of it is combining or partnering with Ross and Brotherhood as a brand that helps bring more awareness to Producer Fund One. But that's also not a huge brand, right? He's super talented, but he doesn't have a million followers, or he hasn't done a Tony Award winning musical before. And so we're kind of at the same level as far as the brand part goes. So I'm still looking for that. But part of what I'm trying to do as a producer is increase the value of my brand by saying, "Oh, I'm a producer that can bring money to the table."
Hmm.
And I'm there on this project. I was able to help that project get to $1 million funded. But that was in partnership with Ross. It wasn't 100% me. So it's a stepping stone. But by this time next year, I hope to be at the point where it's like, oh, I've got 3 movies a year I'm going to put into production. And
Yeah.
that's the level I'm at. And then you go from there and you go to the next level and you increase your brand even more. And you get to like the Blumhouse level where they're going to do $4 to $5 million movies. I don't think I'll scale to 10 movies a year. I'll still stick with three, but getting to the point where I can do a $3 to $5 million in movie, I think that's exciting. I'm not there yet. So
Yeah.
I got to work toward it.
Well, I think you're definitely that trajectory is there, and I know you haven't announced cast yet, but from what I'm hearing as far as offers and people that are interested. It seems like you're definitely going to nail that recognizable actor with a brand.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for it.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Well, okay, i- in summary, which I know we don't say because then people log out according to Alan. But in conclusion, what have we talked about? Just that mindset of making sure that your film is the IP storefront, not just the product. And you've got all sorts of sellable items really within the world of even just one film.
Yeah. And beyond that, I think we've got to think of exploiting. I'll use that word strategically. I think
Oof,
exploiting it for
for sure.
longer than a few weeks, right? We think about distribution as being a one and done. It's like, okay, well, the George Foreman grill has been in distribution for 20 years or whatever. I don't know why I picked
Yeah,
that of all products, but here we are. But I mean, it hasn't changed in 30 years or whatever. Like the product was a moment in time. It was a year or 5 or 10 years or whatever in development and making it and getting it ready for
yeah,
distribution. But
yeah,
then the distribution is long term. We're still going to Disneyland and buying tickets to experience rides for things that were made in the 1900s,
yeah,
you know? And so you got to think of it that way. And Disney's probably the best at that, in my opinion, where they're taking stuff from the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and they're still exploiting it today. Every time they come out with a new special DVD version that has a new color or a new aspect ratio, or now it's in 4K or now it's on Blu-ray or whatever, that's 10 to 100, maybe more $1 million that they just printed from an IP asset that they own from 100 years ago or whatever.
yeah,
I don't,
yeah,
I don't remember when Snow White came out, 27, I think. So we're almost 100 years of Disney. But like, come on, they never stop. The release of your movie is the beginning of distribution, not the final say. So if we can add that to the mix of our conversation and our summary of part of what you're doing and you do this exceptionally well, I think, as a indie filmmaker who's a multi-hyphenate, writer, director, producer, executive producer, you're getting all your IP back and you're saying, I need to be exploiting all this. And you've got this one over here on this streaming platform and this one over here and this one on DVD, and you're handling so much of it yourself because you realize that's where the value is. You've built a library of 8 films and you can go, we're under exploiting these should be on every streaming platform possible. Every one of them should be on a storefront at 3Coin that says here's where you can buy it, rent it, stream it, whatever. Direct to consumer is probably an option that's on your horizon, where you can just
yeah,
a filmmaker could open their own Vimeo OTT shop and start renting their movies on their own without needing some platform to pick them up, where you're paying an aggregator 15% for doing it for you. You can just do it yourself. Like, I'm getting on a rant here, but the idea that the product, when you're done making the movie, you're done. We got to stop that. I think if you want to have
yeah.
a long, profitable career as an indie filmmaker, you got to start thinking more like, how do we create a library of assets that can be exploited for the rest of our lives?
Well, and I think Darren, on to bring it full circle, the and in this summary and conclusion, still the final thought that I have is that you as an independent filmmaker, this is truly independent. That is what sets us apart. That we have that ability to be that brand.
Mm-hmm.
Like we are our own Disney, right? And we're making these films and taking them to an audience, but the audience is returning because what the independent filmmaker is offering to them, right? So that's what we're building, and in a studio model, perhaps that's not an option with the filmmaker. So in this right now, while we all kind of play
Yeah.
in this truly independent sandbox, we are our own brand.
Yep. 100% agree. Awesome stuff, man. I hope that people take away a lot from this episode, because it's a big mindset shift to go from, oh, I'm just writing a movie, directing a movie, to, oh, this is my movie and I'm going to own it forever. And I've got to think about the product ecosystem, and I got to think about partnerships, and I got to think about how am I going to really maximize the leverage of this asset that I've created over time. Very fun. Good luck, everybody.
Yeah, good luck, please. Thank you, everyone, for listening and for sharing the episodes and for your comments and your pitches. Honestly, we're seeing a lot of fun ideas come across. I can't respond to them all, but thank you for commenting and sharing your thoughts and ideas. And we hope that we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us. If you are enjoying Truly Independent, please share and subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the journey. Today's episode was edited by Michael Bradford and produced by 3 Coin Productions. This season of Truly Independent is supported by the Help Them See Foundation. Help Them See is a nonprofit dedicated to supporting feature films that inspire faith, hope, and connection. By partnering with filmmakers, the Help Them See Foundation brings meaningful stories to life and shares them with audiences worldwide, making a lasting cultural impact through the power of cinema. Learn more and discover how you can be part of the movement by visiting helpthemseefoundation.org.